we're here as leader of the Student of Color Club to lead this year's MLK Assembly.
Martin Luther King Jr. is one of the most prominent activists in American history. He's a religious leader and a civil rights activist known for pioneering policies that began to dismantle racial segregation in the United States.
Along with racial equality, he fought for socioeconomic equality. This was famously demonstrated through his leadership in the Poor People's Campaign of the late 60s. In his speech entitled, "Where Do We Go From Here?" he asserted that an economy that produced 40 million impoverished people clearly needed to be reconstructed, since a small sector of the population possessed the wealth.
It is necessary for us to continue the values that Martin Luther King preached, especially considering the current prominence of hate and fear-based politics. In order to achieve his dream of social harmony, it is up to each and every one of us to fight for justice and equal rights.
If we cannot do great things, we can do small things in a great way.
BSU, let's go!
I've spent so long turning into you, I've forgotten how to be me. It seems that no matter how hard I try to change myself, I can never be complete. That no matter what I do, I can never live up to the expectations set by you. It seems I'll always be the stereotype you pray for me to be. Sometimes it seems like it's all in vain. I'm trying to ignore the pain, the hurt that comes while trying to forget the blackness that courses through my veins. Even though closer is the game, it's driving me insane. It's a tug of war that comes with the constant pain of the game. I play two roles in this double life, and each hurts me the same. But I can't stop, although I've tried, because it's the only way to survive in this land of the free and home of the brave.
BSU!
Nas taught me more about my history than my history books. I come from Queens and Kings and Kush. People keep telling me to stop being the victim, to no longer be paranoid. But if I'm not, I'll end up with my back against the building, my hands in the air, quickly turned and shackled with handcuffs around my wrists and my head spinning in a twist. You no longer care about my name, I've become another number and it's all the same. You shout hurtful words and you claim that America would be better off without us. Nothing equates to the struggle we live. Can you imagine your skin being a threat, being scared to even take a breath, being illegal in the country you love, innocent lives taken by those who were sworn to protect? That's why it makes it harder to stand for that song, but let's not forget, it glorifies the murder of our ancestors.
The shackled always rise. Even if we are murderers for the moment, we still rise. I don't need tear gas or guns to rebel. I'll use the strongest weapon of all, my voice. We live in a country that tries to dehumanize us and divide. The best weapon that we have is the one we're using now, our voices. And we will use our voices until our last breath. This is the greatest form of rebellion for a country that preaches free speech, but wants us silenced.
For this poem, I took inspiration from a book of images of being black from slave times to the end of Jim Crow. So, ripples like the sea after you received 1,000 shots. The body rots like the person in the chains of iron rock, the casket drops. Wondering if heaven comes to those whose lives have been hard fought as ours, looking for tomorrow through the eyes, witness to the horror, put 1,000 to the sorrow, so the prophets may stay for a day or tomorrow, where we are, born to death, born to die, with our blackened flesh and blackened eyes. The brave ones can never cry. He bleeds his tears until he knows that he will fly. In a place so simple but not, we just want to live, but the cross is burning hot. Where goes church than liquor store and the block loves you a lot. Where a neighbor will never cast a stone but won't miss us a lot. We go looking for a job but they won't give you a shot. For the people rather forgot but not taught, somehow absent from the episode. In a lush field near railroads, the tree holds the man who swings as the bell tolls. Forgets to bow, so he hangs now to show our role in place. in a place so simple where we are. Born to death, born to die, burn the flesh and burn the eye. A black man can never cry. Show weakness, you will become the earth's next alumni. Descended from the thrones of David, I'm broken from the slave ship to the small percent who made it. Deuteronomy 28, an oath to his whole people, engraved on my chest, where the kings and queens of the promised land, for the ones who saved it. Waited on God, we still listen to Huey. Justice for Lucy, loosely heard in the university. Our kings were overall standing tall. They shall never fall, even when the dogs prowl and the hoses spray. The church was bombed, but we still pray. For peace to your brain, pray to be free from pain. Please bless the people having claims.
Leadership Conference will ask the poets various questions about their respective poems.
DSU, YBM, and SOC agreed that we wanted to have non-black panelists ask questions to poets.
If there's time, we will accept questions from the audience.
Okay, so the first question we have is for Leah and Naya. In the first line of your poem, I've spent so long turning into you. Who is you? Is it a specific person or a group of people or an idea?
So it's not a specific person, it's more of like a image, kind of, or the concept. Because like I felt I always had to prove I wasn't the stereotypes that surround black women in the society. So I tried to like, assimilate to my classmates, and I changed who I was, how I talked, what I wore, and try to fit in and be accepted. And then I eventually came to like the conclusion that I was going to be Leah and not trying to be somebody that I wasn't.
Thank you.
So the second question is also for Leah, and Naya. What's the relationship between the ideas expressed in your poems and the choreographed interludes of step dancing?
So this is a question that's a little hard to explain. So both the step and the poem both have like very different meanings, but at the same time they all tie into Black history. And if any of you have seen South Africa and all of that, just like going back to the cultural times when step and music was the only way we could express ourselves. So kind of tying that into our history.
Thank you. This third question This question is for Thomas. Your poem contains a lot of dark and even violent imagery. For example, you write, burn the flesh and burn the eye, a black man can never cry. What inspired this imagery and what emotions were you trying to evoke in your reader?
I'm talking about the burns. I think of burns as like this very visible type of scar, sort of like the scar that's on the black community a lot of the times with the violence and violence just being a regular part of life in the community. And I wanted to create this contrast of burning the flesh and burning the eye, not like physically burning the eye, but like once you witness something that's like so traumatic, like a friend dying or you see a body in the street or something like that, you don't have a visual representation of that trauma, but it's still in your mind, it still affects you daily life, and there's a lot of black people who go through that. They may not have the scars on their body, but still the scars in their mind. And a black man can never cry. That's a reference to how in the community, mental health is just not really something that's discussed. And it's always like, you're always told like, mama didn't raise no crybaby or something like that. And like you always like suppress how you feel, and you always like, you never like express yourself outwardly. And I think that's a big problem in the community. And it's something like, I definitely do. I don't really talk about my problems or anything like that. So I wanted to put that in there too.
Thank you.
This is a question for all of the panelists. Both poems explore the significance of African American history. What message about this history are you trying to convey to your audience?
I just wanted to that we're never trying to put down any other race, but we're trying to lift up our own because there's a lot of problems within our own race, and it doesn't always get expressed. So when we say black power, we mean that we're strong too. So it's not putting anybody else down, it's lifting each other up.
And for me, it wasn't a specific point in history. It was more just our society in America, through my eyes and through our eyes as black females. So we were just trying to give you guys a lens into how we see America and the world and society.
And just to kind of add on to that, we're saying, we're only trying to uplift ourselves, we're trying to help, and just to give people a view, because people struggle with a lot of the same problems that we have, and all of the culture has as well. But we're trying to give you a lens, as Leah said, to how we feel and how some of the things that we have experienced.
What I did was a little different. I referenced 3 specific people: Marcus Garvey, Huey P. Newton, and Augustine Lucy. All of them, they're lesser known civil rights heroes, but I just wanted to give them a little bit of a shout out,
So we have time for questions from the audience. Does anyone want to go first?
Raise your hand if you have any questions.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah.
When this is for the 3 girls up there, because I don't really know their names. But what was going through your mind as you were writing the poem or saying it?
I remember when me and Leah were writing, and it was a lot of emotions happening, and we actually ended up pausing writing, and we had a very serious discussion with one of our other friends, Leah, and we just brought up a lot of things that we brought up our grandparents, we brought up scenarios, and it was very heart touching. I think it kind of made us closer together because our race and our similarities. So writing a poem, it was very emotional for us personally.
Yeah, we really had to go back and
I was stressed out writing it. I was so stressed out. And a lot of the things we were talking about, I kind of don't talk about them at all. I kind of just keep them inside and keep it moving. So it's difficult for me to kind of talk about and express all those things that have been bothering me for a long time.
When I was writing, I like to write alone in a really quiet place and just contemplate. So I had all these images laid out in front of me, and I just took what I saw as inspiration and took my own experiences as inspiration and used that. I think the first line was the one that came the most naturally, because I had an image of a burned body, and the caption said it was shot 1,000 times at White Riot. And so ripples like the sea after received 1,000 shots, the body rots. That was just that came real quick, and then the rest of it followed with the images.
Does anyone else have any more questions?
This goes out to anyone who feels like they want to answer it, but with other people being either willfully ignorant or just constantly perpetrating just hatred for black people in specific, how do you feel like you're going to change that? Are you just going to represent yourself and the black community the best you can be, or are you just going to let ignorance live? How do you think you're going to solve problems outside in different communities other than this one?
I don't think that we're gonna let ignorance just happen, but I think that we're gonna try to be as best as we can be and good role models and like not fall into that stereotype that like black people are mean or rude. And yeah, we're just gonna try to be our best selves because we know we can do great things, and even though it's not always going to be acknowledged, it is going to be acknowledged in the future.
Yeah, because like I said, we can't really stop, but we can help. Like her last line is about using our weapon, our voices. And that's the strongest weapon we really can use. We can use our voices and let the word out and try to stop ignorance.
So in the environment of my previous school, I felt I constantly had to like try to dismantle the stereotypes that were surrounding Black women, and I constantly tried to change myself, how I talked, how I acted, what I said, hoping that people would see me like just as a human and not as a stereotype. But then I kind of realized that like people who are ignorant, whatever you do, may not change that, you know? Like if they want to believe certain things, no matter what I say, what I do, how I act, isn't going to change that. So like we will keep speaking, we keep saying like our story, our truths and stuff, but that might not change everyone's opinions because they're so set what they believe.
You guys have any? Diana?
So as someone who's a part of this process, my question for you guys is, going forward in the Burke community, what do the people in your community get out of what you just said? Like what did you say that you feel like should really resonate with them?
One of our main focuses writing these poems, as we have explained, is to really get a lens. So like, Burke has seemed like a very respectable school to this, but just for anyone, be respectful and just to learn what we go through, as well as other people as well, but just to have a perspective, step in someone else's shoes through these poems, and really learn and listen and think before you speak and all that.
You know, we're not asking other people to like fully understand what we go through because I don't think we never will be able to like do that. But we're saying like get some perspective. Like we can't give you our perspective because we can try our best to give you our perspective, but you might not never fully understand that. But like just being respectful and not feeding into those stereotypes. And even if something bad happened, like and you were around a Black person, that doesn't mean that every Black person is that way.
All of that into the brothers and sisters in the community, know your history, know all these figures like, not just Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, know everyone who like took a part in the civil rights movement and brought us to where we are today.
What is your opinion on, this is for anyone, what is your opinion on colorism within the Black community?
Can you repeat the question?
What is your opinion on colorism in the Black community?
Okay. So we. Oh. I know how to define it. Okay. So colorism is like.
Okay, so unlike racism, it's not specifically because of your race, but just the shade of your skin. So like a common example is like light skin versus dark skin, like who's better and stuff like that.
Yes, thank you. So we had a whole meeting in BSU about colorism, and like especially focusing on like people changing their color. Like some people who are dark skinned are going lighter, and some people who are white are going like dark skin.
Blackfish?
Yeah, blackfishing. And so our opinion, at least my opinion on this, is I don't think it's right on either part. I don't think that I think there should be more acceptance. People should really accept who they are, because I love being the skin color I am, and I'm really proud of it. try to convey in our poems, I think, is that really showing how to represent. Because some people feel, like Leah said, that they're put so much to be in this person that they're not. And that's part of the issue with colorism, that people try to go lighter or darker is a whole different thing. But I think there should just be more support and like, love who you are.
If you want to know more about colorism, it's a great Blackish episode that came out like last week, so you need to go watch it.
I was just gonna say like colorism is like within like the Black community, like I'm lighter than Leah, but that doesn't mean that I'm any better than her or anything. It's colorism is like basically like just judging people based off of their color. Like that's just that, and we shouldn't do that. Like we should be better in our own community because like yeah, we just need to be better like, as a society.